tragedy political. Gene the CMD man accused of murdering a Daytona Beach cop.
Fatherhood from sea to shining sea. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me as we pray. Accept, O Lord, our thanks for the splendor of creation, for the beauty of the world, and for this community that we call our home. Pour out your blessing upon Mayor Helfrich, the City Council, and all who hold office in this community with a spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that they may, with steadfast purpose, promote the well-being of all. Strengthen our efforts to blot out ignorance, prejudice, and violence as we strive to respect the dignity of all people. Joining the people of Ukraine, we pray that peace might prevail and that people everywhere may share in the benefits of true freedom in meaningful lives. Bless the work of Rotary around the world. As people of action, guide us to continue to put service of others above our own needs and desires. For the blessing of the food that was set before us this day, for those who prepared it and served us, we offer you thanks in your most holy name. Amen.
I am pleased to have the honor to introduce our guests for today's meeting. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing until President Jackie has welcomed you. Andy Baez, guest of Michael Muldrow. Sophia Barnes, guest of Youth Leadership. Josh Barnes, Melinda Barnes, also guests of Youth Leadership. Melinda Barnes, guest of Youth Leadership. David Baum, guest of Denny Bachman. Kaji Collins, guest of Michael Muldrow. Yanalyn DeShields, guest of Youth Leadership. Lisa Fast, guest of Jules Tolbert. Madison Forbes, guest of Youth Leadership. The following guests are guests of Michael Muldrow, Kyle Hauer, and Dan Lentz. Anthony Lean, guest of John Kleindienst. Matt Leitzel, guest of Michael Muldrow. Betsy Rosenmiller, guest of Fred Rosenmiller. Matt Segrazy, guest of Aaron Jacobs. Page 2. Dr. Richard Satterley, Yizel Stasia, and Cindy Strawbridge are all guests of Youth Leadership. Cora Taylor, guest of Andy Rawitz. Madeline Torres Ocasio, guest of Joan Mummert. And then the following guests are guests of Jen Brilhart. Kellyanne Bellin, Zara, should have brought my glasses. Guess I'm older than I thought. Zara Rangwal, Garrick Bowman, Alexandra Bryden, Alyssa DeSalis, Jared McLean, Dominic McCrae, and Adrian Strobland. And then guest of Walt Tilley is Chris Woods. Thank you all.
Welcome, welcome, all of our guests. So happy that you're with us today. We know that you'll find this program very informative. We hope that you found this club to be very welcoming and that you'll plan to join us again often. Please help me welcome our guests. You may be seated. Thank you. The IDEA Committee will meet on April 4th at 8 a.m. via Zoom. The Fundraising Committee will meet at 11 a.m. on April 6th here at the club. The Membership Committee will meet at 1:30 on April 6th here at the club. The York City Little League cleanup that had been scheduled for this evening has been postponed until next Tuesday, April 5th at 5 p.m. at Allen Field to clean up the field in preparation for opening day. Any willing volunteers are appreciated to help rake leaves, pick up litter, and clean the batting cages. Please be sure to bring a rake and gloves. Thank you, everyone who brought guests this month and today, and please continue to do that as part of our March membership campaign, March to 300, March Madness. Great to see you here. Hope you'll come often and consider joining our club. We have 2 upcoming fellowship events, a family fun night and open house at Tidings of Peace Christian School on Saturday, April 2nd from 3 to 9. A networking luncheon at Hollywood Casino at Galleria Mall Friday, April 8th from 12 to 1. This is a great way, particularly for new Rotarians, to get to know other Rotarians in this small group setting. So I highly encourage you to sign up. Please RSVP to past President Rob Bowen if you're interested. And now, for our member moment. Oh, wait, not for a member moment. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're in the right place. You're in the right place. Oh, completely missed this. We are so excited to extend a happy anniversary wish to past President John Schmidt. John, please stand up. Where are you? John Schmidt has been a member of this club since 1963. Thank you for being a valued member. He rarely misses a meeting. At first, I hadn't seen him and I thought, oh gosh, I hope he's here today. But he is, and he rarely misses unless he's visiting family in California. So great to see you. And thank you for being a valued member of our club all these years. All right. Today we bid a fond farewell to our dear friend David Lovelace, who's leaving the York community to relocate to Delaware. David shares the following words with our club. My Rotary friends, 25 years ago when I moved to York to serve as the rector of the Episcopal Church of St. John the Baptist, Austin Hunt invited me to join him at Rotary. I'd been a member of a club in Belhaven, North Carolina, so I knew the advantages of being a part of Rotary Club. Rotary has provided me an opportunity to meet many community leaders and to learn the value of shared goals in service to others. It has been my privilege to be a member of the Rotary Club of York. I plan to search for a club in our new community and look forward to the opportunity to share in Rotary fellowship and service. David, we wish you very, very much success and happiness in your transition to your new home. We're glad you're going to be part of a Rotary Club there, and we invite you to visit us every time you're back in town. Farewell to you. Our club continues to demonstrate a spirit of generosity, as to date, we have collected $9,435 to benefit the Ukraine Humanitarian Crisis Recovery Fund through the Center for Disaster Philanthropy. With our charitable endowment fund match and an anonymous gift of $5,000, we are able to offer nearly $20,000 in humanitarian relief to the people of Ukraine. We are going to continue collecting funds until April 15th. Gifts can be made online or by making a check payable to the Rotary Club CEF Fund. Thank you all so much. We know that we're going to go over that goal of 20,000 in very, very short time. Thank you. And now perhaps we'll talk about Tina Warbock. What do you say? Let's do that. Tina Warbock joined Rotary in 2017. Past President Di Hershey was her proposer. Tina chairs the Lend a Hand Committee. After being away from the in-person meetings during the pandemic, she's glad to be back. And said it's been fulfilling to connect with people in person from different backgrounds, interests, and ages. Tina grew up in the Harrisburg-Hummelstown area and spent a lot of time. She started working for Hershey Entertainment as a teenager and loved her role as a reservationist at the Hershey Park Arena, a job she held through college. After graduation with a degree in accounting, she was offered a position as the arena stadium accountant responsible for handling all their events. She and her husband Chad met in college and have been married for 22 years. They have a beloved Yorkie named Archie. She is strong in her roots and remains close to her parents, sister, and two best friends from childhood. She says she had a fairy tale upbringing and credits her family with influencing her life in a positive way. She tries to carry the positivity they instilled in her forward in her life. She came to the Pullo Center in 2008 as assistant director and was promoted to the role of director in 2016. In her work in the entertainment business, she's met more celebrities than she'll ever remember, and noted you often see their true colors when working closely with them. I think the world can attest to that. There is one actor, though, that she'll never forget, Cary Elves, who played Wesley in the movie The Princess Bride. He came to the Pullo Center for a special showing of the film and afterward answered audience questions, followed by a VIP reception where he spent as much time with each guest as they desired. She'll always remember him as a wonderful human being, kind, personable, and very handsome. She doesn't mind her daily commute from Harrisburg and loves everything about her job, including the dream team she has the privilege of working with every day. Tina likes to read, walk, hike, travel, and volunteering is important to her. She enjoys giving back and has found in Rotary a perfect way to get involved. Tina, thank you for your work with Lend a Hand and for being a bright light in Rotary. And now Brian Grimm with a Literacy Lend a Hand B3 update.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests. Our member moment is with Tina, and she's going to join me, so I don't have to introduce her. The Rotary Literacy Committee is partnering with Lend a Hand Committee, which Tina is on, this year to present the B3 challenge. Hopefully by now you've heard of this challenge. It is books, blankets, and bucks. All month we've had a table to encourage everyone to give if you can, to put books in the hands of children and families in York County. The committee selected 4 recipients this year: the Little Bulldogs Academy, the New York Day Nursery at the York County School of Technology, the Christ Church Child Care Center, and lastly, the United Way Reach Out and Read program, which provides books for pediatricians to prescribe reading to their parents and send a book home with families. Our partnership with the Lend a Hand Committee will provide our recipients with a book and a blanket. Additional funds will be distributed to each location to purchase more books and to distribute or to use in the classroom. I mean, hopefully all of us can remember either our grandchild's, our children's, their favorite book, their favorite blanket. It's a really special bond, and this is a pretty awesome opportunity, and we would like for you guys to be a part of it.
Both committees are challenging Rotarians to donate to provide the funds needed to complete this project. We have a goal of $2,500, and to date, members have donated $1,500 towards the project. We are looking for an additional $1,000, and we need your help. Thank you so much for your consideration to help us get a book and a blanket into each of these children's hands. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, and now past President Josh George with some new member inductions.
Thank you, President Jackie, and good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. As has been a very common tradition here over the last few months, it's my distinct pleasure to be up here again, inducting new members into our club. Certainly, this is a great way to begin calendar year 2022. And today we have 4 new members to introduce to you. And we will begin and go in alphabetical order today. So beginning with Linda Gordor. Many of you may know Linda from her work with Big Brothers and Big Sisters of York and Adams County, but she's originally from New York. She went to Vestal High School and then went to SUNY Oswego, where she earned her BA in anthropology, and then came to Pennsylvania, where she earned her MBA at Eastern University. She is the executive director of Big Brothers Big Sisters of York and Adams County. Her community service includes, she is a board member for the Affordable Housing Advocates. She's the board secretary for Center for Youth and Community Development, and she's a program chair at Women United and also a companion at Olivia's House. Her hobbies include reading, knitting, and biking. She has 2 kids, Brad and Stacy, and she is a former Rotarian. She was the past president of the York East Rotary Club, and she's also a Paul Harris Fellow +2. Her proposer is Eric Chase. Ladies and gentlemen, Linda Gordor. All right, next we have Steve Harlacher. Steve is a graduate of West York High School, and he went to Millersville, where he earned his BS in Business Administration, and then at York College, where he earned his MBA. He is the controller for Graham Capital. His community service includes, he is the chair of the West Manchester Township Board of Supervisors. And if you happen to live in West Manchester Township, he asks that you do not air your grievances at the Rotary meeting, please. He's on the executive board of the New Birth of Freedom Boy Scouts of America. He is also involved with Boy Scout Troop 94, where he serves as a scout leader. And he was the co-race director for the Gene Glaudfeder Memorial Mile. While in college, Steve was quite the cross-country runner, if I have this correct, 4 years in the cross-country team at Millersville. I don't know if you still run, but if you do, let's get out there. I'll run with you. We'll have a little fun. His hobbies include hunting, fishing, golf, hiking, and backpacking. He is married to Melanie, and they have 4 children, Derek, 20, Connor, 19, and his stepsons are Zachary, 23, and Christian, 21. His proposer is Jim May. Steve Harlacher. Next, we have Andy Lynch. James Andy Lynch, goes by Andy. He is from Massachusetts. He went to Andover High School, and then he went on to Worcester Polytechnic Institute, where he earned his Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering and his Master of Science in Fire Protection Engineering. He is the founder and CEO of Fire Solutions Group. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, his community service includes, he's a member of the National Fire Protection Association and serves on the Testing Standards Committee. His hobbies include golf and football. And as we were talking at lunch, we discovered that his favorite team is, again, not surprisingly, the New England Patriots, or maybe it's now Tampa Bay. We were debating. He says he's been watching both pretty regularly over the last couple of years. He is married to Roberta, who goes by Bobby, and they have 2 kids, Brandon, who's 16, and Kira, who's 15. His proposer is Becca Hanlon. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Lynch. And last but certainly not least, Michael Muldrow. Michael is a graduate of William Penn Senior High School, and he went to Hack, where he earned his associate's degree in criminal justice. He is, I'm sure you well know, the chief of the York City Police Department. His community service includes, he is a member of the York County Chiefs of Police, the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police. He is a member of the York County Confronting Racism Coalition, and he was appointed by the governor to serve on the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. His hobbies include running and art. And again, we're going to do a running theme today. I think we're going to go for a run after Rotary here. He is married to Natasha, and they have 5 kids, I believe. Is that right? Yep. Travana, Nashaya, Travis, Michael Jr., and Lindell. His proposer is Phil Woods. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Muldrow.
Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. You can go ahead and have a seat. So glad that you're becoming members of this club. And as some of you have heard us say, we really feel that your experience, your fulfillment is tied to how involved you become. So we encourage you to visit the many, many committee offerings that we have, get a feel for them, see if any of them are ones that you might want to become a member of. So welcome again. Please, Rotarians, help me welcome our new members. I'd like to invite Mark Wheeler with some college service awards.
Thank you, President Jackie, and fellow Rotarians. As you know, the Youth Leadership Committee regularly recognizes high school students of the month. Today, we have the pleasure of recognizing 3 college service awards. Service above self is the theme. We have a student from HAC, from York College of Pennsylvania, and from Penn State York. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing these 3 fine young ladies. The first young lady is from HAC, Giselle Stadia. Giselle, over the last few years, has had the opportunity and pleasure to be a part of a few clubs at her college. She's enjoyed the opportunity to be a part of both anime and Second Flight to Fight. Both clubs taught the importance of community and standing up for yourself for those who do not have a voice of their own. She went on later to speak to some of her hobbies. The most recent hobby she's taken up is learning about cars and working on cars, which I found very fascinating. And of most importance to her is the ability to tutor students around York County and volunteer at the local farm. Her career path, again, very interesting and tremendous opportunity in this field. She plans to go work in the welding industry. She has a desire to gain more experience and certification so that she can grow within the field and change the narrative of women in trades. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Rotarians, please congratulate Giselle Stadia. Our second young lady is from your College of Pennsylvania, Sophie Barnes. Sophie is president of YCP Student Senate, service chair of Phi Sigma Pi National Honor Fraternity, FYS Fellow, orientation leader, peer writing tutor, and presidential research fellow. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Rotarians, please welcome and congratulate Sophie Barnes. And last but hardly least, if you could see my tie, it's a Nittany Lion. We have our young lady from Penn State York, Madison Forbes. Madison is president of Penn State York Lion Ambassadors, president of Penn State York Human Development Family Studies, member of the Penn State York Benefiting Thon Group, and intern in the Penn State York Admissions and Financial Aid Office. Quite a few other achievements. 2021 recipient of the Eric A. and Josephine Walker Award, 2021 recipient of the Penn State York SGA Campus Service Award, 2021 recipient of the Gary L. Collison Community Service Award, Dean's List freshman through senior year, and a member of Phi Kappa Phi Honor Society. She plans to become a professional in higher education. She would like specifically to work in student affairs on the college campus. She's going to graduate school, directly after college to earn her master's degree in student affairs and higher education. Fellow Rotarians, please welcome and congratulate Madison Forbes.
Congratulations to all 3 of you and continued success. We know you're going to do great things in life. So great that that you're on this path. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Joan Mummert to introduce our program.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Jackie. It is a privilege to introduce Mayor Michael Helfrich. I think many of you know the mayor. He is a native of York County, the son of Kenneth R. Helfrich from Girard Avenue in the city of York, and Christine Hartman from Frankfurt, Germany. Since 2001, he's lived in York City when he began his organized efforts to improve our waterways and help the people and communities impacted by pollution. He was elected to York City Council in 2011 as a write-in candidate after over 1,000 voters made the extra civic effort to enter his name onto the ballot. In 2017, he was elected mayor as a registered Democrat running on a Republican ticket. After he received support in the primary from Republicans who had no representation on the ballot. Mayor Helfrich was reelected in 2021 as a registered Democrat on the Democratic ticket. Politically speaking, he doesn't much care for a two-party system and represents himself as a fiscal conservative and a social liberal. He is more interested in working with anyone that can help solve problems than he is with a specific party. But to say that he loves history might be an understatement. He is particularly passionate about his home, the Cook's House, as well as his burgeoning research and collection of Glenalvin Goodrich daguerreotypes. He also appreciates music, people, and the out of doors. But most of all, he loves spending time with his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. It is my pleasure to introduce the mayor, Mayor Helfrich.
Thank you all. I got to tell you, Steve Harlacher has thrown me off completely here. We were in Scouts together in Troop 94 together. So Steve, I hope you stop picking on me now that I'm the mayor. Took about 30 some years to get back at you. But thank you all so much for having me here, and sincere thank you for the work that you do for the people of the city of York and around the world. This Rotary Club is amazing, and I'm so glad that you are a part of York City and York County and have me here. On Monday, I tried to do a preview of this speech, and it lasted an hour and 15 minutes. So we're not going to do that again. I'm going to run down through some of the major things that are going on, and then hopefully give you enough time so that you can lead the discussion instead of just hearing what I think is important right now. But I do want to start off with a little bit of a statement, because I think it was the most asked thing when I walked in. How are you getting along with city council? I hope that people understand. I think everybody here understands that what the media prints is like maybe, well, whatever they want to print that thinks will sell papers, of course. But council and I and the other elected officials, we agree on 98% of the things that are going on in the city of York. And we are getting a lot of work done, but that never makes the headlines. And when you see things pass in city council, they pass like this, like this, like this, that's a sign of agreement. Nobody really talks about that stuff. It's just a couple of things that we passionately disagree on. And frankly, I think that's a good thing for the city of York and the county of York. Some people want everybody to get along. I don't think that is why our government was established. I think our government was established to make sure that points of view were thoroughly vetted and sometimes vehemently supported and objected to. And what I always like to say is that it is pressure and friction that turns coal into a diamond and makes a dull piece of steel into a sharp blade. So please do not be dismayed if you see folks not getting along, because that's sometimes a good sign. That's a good sign that things are getting done. And to that point, during the last budget, I proposed about $6 million in ARPA spending out of the $35.3 million that the city of York is receiving. We've already approved in the first few months of 2022, we've already approved more than that original amount of money. So it's not that things aren't getting done. It's just sometimes you just got to work through them to make sure they get done. So to begin, I would like to talk about what I believe is the most important thing and the toughest thing facing us right now, and that is the crime in the city of York and the work of Commissioner Muldrow and our amazing detectives and officers in the York City Police Department. The one thing we know is that our crime doesn't come from the lack of the work of the York City Police Department. The crime is much deeper than that. And I think you all know that too, because you've supported initiatives to help the people of the city of York. Crime comes from a young kid who has no direction. Crime comes from kids that see violence in their homes and in their neighborhoods. What we do for the New York City Police Department historically is try to patch things up on the back end. And I just want to thank our officers and detectives and Commissioner Muldrow here today for the amazing work. They can never solve all the crimes, but we have an above average rate of finding murderers and convicting them. People sometimes say, well, can't find the murderers. No, these guys and women do an amazing job, and it's above the national average. And I want to thank them and applaud them. And it's complete coincidence that they're here so that I can do that. I'm glad you're here. But so through, and I didn't mention that President Walker, President of the City Council, Sandy Walker, and myself are meeting monthly and working through the ARPA funding and other issues. And one of the first things we agreed upon is to allocate over $2 million to the York City Police Department. We were shooting for 2.7. We ended up with 2.4, but we're going to get to the rest of it. There will be more coming. But the amazing thing about this funding is that only a small amount goes for additional police officers. Now, some may not like that, but when you understand that the problems, we can't put people in prison fast enough where we can't arrest our way out of the problem. So more police officers isn't necessarily the answer. It is a combination of more police officers and building trust in the community so that the community is our partner, which they have not, which there have been problems over the past 50, 100, 200 years of making that connection with the members of the city, with the residents of the city. And so a lot of the work now is not only to try and rebuild that trust, but also to address the deep social problems that we have. One of the, and Commissioner Muldrow just brings, and you better put on your seatbelt, Rotary, because you just brought Commissioner Muldrow on as a member of your team. I don't know what he's going to do to the Rotary. I know what he did to York City, and that is bring every new idea, every innovative idea, and say, Mayor, we got to do this. And then I go, Commissioner, how do you pay for it? And then he goes, I'll find a way. Okay, I'll help you pay for it. We'll get there. We'll get there. But he has just been amazing. I want to run through a couple of things. And now that he's your member, please call on him to give you maybe quarterly updates or whatever kind of updates to stay more engaged, because I know that the Rotary supports the police department. But bringing on credible messengers, this is something that I had been asking about. This is a position that's actually not a city hired position, but is a city supported position where an individual who has been on the streets, who has done things the wrong way, turns their life around, but now has the skills and the credibility to communicate with those that maybe the rest of us can't communicate with. And this first person, who was already a mentee of Commissioner Muldrow, Tiff Lowe, she had worked for the school district, but she's been able to talk to these mostly young men of color that are unfortunately both the victims and the folks that are engaged in the violence that is ending in homicides. But she's been able to engage them, and I'm going to say at this point, where 80% of the young people that she has engaged are not engaging in violence now. So now we're going to use some of this ARPA money to hire 5 more positions, or to create 5 more positions in a nonprofit, friends and neighbors that are helping us. So we're very excited about that, and bringing on co-responders, mental health experts to work with our police officers. Many times, whether it's during an event or directly after an event, we are desperately in need of mental health assistance. As you see sometimes, some of these horrible things that happen with police officer shootings, sometimes that there's a mental health issue behind that. There's a person who is acting out of control, and a police officer, while they have some training in how to deal with this, they're not experts in that. They're experts in trying to protect us and protect our property, but they don't have 4 to 6 years of education on how to talk down somebody who's running around with a knife. We need people that have those skills, and Commissioner Muldrow and myself and others, and Wellspan, we're supporting those initiatives to bring mental health experts into the police department and help engage individuals that need that help and that we can talk down before it turns into something worse. So final thing, I'm going to start moving over into public works here, but there's an item that's coming up, and I think I hear that you might be helping with, so I want to thank you ahead of time or encourage you to help. And that is with our new community center. That is also going to be a police engagement center, a place where the police can actually get back to hanging out with the kids, shooting ball, playing music together, whatever it is. We want to make sure we're also, shifting away from the sports centered recreation centers, because kids do a lot more than dribble basketballs and things like that. So we want to make sure that we are engaging all the kids that we can. And so for the first time in many, many years, we are bringing a new community center to the city of York, working on a location still, but we've got ARPA funding for it, and we're getting additional support from community partners like you. So thank you very much. So that brings us also into public works. And our community development. One of the things that we know is very different between York and other communities, when we're looking at these when we look at where we rank with violence here, we look at what are the differences. And we know that the federal government cut nearly 80% of our community development block grant money in the early 2000s. We know that we used to have community centers, recreation centers in all of the low-income neighborhoods of the city of York. We used to have them at the Princess Street Center and the Pine Street Center and Jefferson Center and Rotary Cranich. They were strategically placed to help people so that if their family environment wasn't supportive, or if they needed some extra care, there was a place they could go and they could call it their own. We eliminated all of that. We have Crispus Attucks, we have the Mats, we have the Salvation Army. They do great work, but they're not all strategically located in those areas the way they used to be. So I am trying to continue to work on finding ways to bring back community centers in the city of York, because that is a huge difference between us and the cities that are not seeing the kind of violence that we are seeing, that they do have that what I call, even surrogate parents, you can call them, if you're not getting what you need at home, because while science will tell us you need food, clothing, and shelter to get to that next level, you actually need food, clothing, shelter, and love. They've kind of left out that part in the science, but we know that to be a fact, that for kids to elevate, they need that. They need somebody to care about them, and they need to know that people care about them. So not as nearly as emotional and philosophical, but certainly exciting. George Street is getting repaved. How's that for a pivot? How's that for a pivot? No, you may have, I'm going to take this opportunity to thank C.S. Davidson. When I came into office, I was given an option by Jeff Shue. We had recently had some new paving going on around the city, and we watched that paving fail within months. And the reason is because we were basically, sorry, I was about to throw out I was going to say something about lipstick on a pig, but that's essentially when you put fresh blacktop on something that hasn't been fixed, that's what you get. And for years, people like to see fresh blacktop. Don't you like to see fresh blacktop? Doesn't it make you happy, right? Your street just got paved. But if you haven't fixed what's underneath, similar to our children in the city of York, if you haven't fixed what's underneath, you're still going to end up with the problems repeating. And Jeff Shue said to me, we can do better, but you're going to have to eat some gravel to do it. And you're going to have to actually get all the utilities to work together, and you're going to have to patch the base of the roads, and it's going to take you a year to 2 years to actually complete a road. Nobody likes to hear that. But your road, instead of lasting from 2 months to 2 years, is going to last 10 to 15 years. And that's when the dollar signs go off in my head right away. And so thank you all for your patience. We are now turning a corner where we're seeing the completion of those roads, and we're getting into a good flow that, yes, the roads have to stay open, have to stay damaged or rough a little bit longer, but by the time we're done, now they're going to last potentially up to 10 times as long as they have been lasting. So I'm very excited about that. Also with George Street comes the new rail trail completion. Another big round of applause if you like the rail trail. And that will be completed with the completion of the George Street Bridge. So that's all part of that project. But now I'm already looking to the next level of this, which is not just the rail trail, but we have a Broad Street Trail that connects Good School with Hannah Penn School with Memorial Park. And that is only a couple blocks away from connecting with the main rail trail. We're also looking as part of the Cadorus Creek project about a west side trail that would go from Bance Park down to, well, I want it to go to Bance Park. Right now it starts at Grantley, but I'm pushing it to go to Bance Park. And then Martin Luther King Park, the new Thaxton Park that we will be creating after the York Housing Authority is done with the new housing project there, and hopefully all the way down to Logos Academy. And cutting across Princess Street, we can connect that. So now you can start seeing this connection of these three different trails, safe passages for people to walk and bike around our city, safe passages for our children in the city. So that is something I'm very excited about with Public Works. The firefighters are easy. They don't cause me any problems really. And they all I gotta do is keep buying them new toys. And thank you for WellSpan to help us buying our two new fire trucks. We desperately needed them. We were running a 1983 and a 1988 piece of equipment. And you can imagine, again, we're trying to do better on the streets of York, but imagine what the streets of York do to your cars, let alone running these vehicles very fast and then stopping very fast and all over the place. We desperately needed vehicles, and WellSpan and the firefighter veterans helped us to pay for those, I think, without any tax money. So they're doing good. And our next effort is the ladder truck, which is one of the biggest investments in the city of York, a $1.5 million piece of equipment. And we just started that fund with about $100,000 out of WellSpan funding. You'll hear me say WellSpan multiple times because over the last few years, I think since I spoke with you last, maybe not, but they have increased their donation to the city of York from around $450,000 to over $1 million per year. And so I'm very grateful for WellSpan stepping up and supporting the city as they do. Economic development, I want to thank those that represent, and I can't, again, WellSpan's the only one that I have permission yet to speak on. I promise this is not a WellSpan commercial. But many of our anchor institutions around the city have joined with us on a local sourcing initiative. This is an effort to connect the big purchasers in our community with the local suppliers, and also to build a chain of demand so that we know how to nurture new entrepreneurs into businesses that already have existing demand in our community. So this is a very strong effort. It's part of it is based on supporting minority and women-owned businesses. I strongly believe that we can do a lot for civil rights, but until we get economic equity, we're not there. Until we build up businesses, we can't get there. So we need to, and we need your help to support African-American, Latino, women-owned, veteran-owned, disabled-owned businesses. So we are working very hard on that, as well as working on new legislation that will help the city purchasing direct our purchases in that way. What else do we have going on in economic development? Make sure I'm not missing anything. Northwest Triangle. Everybody have wood to knock on? We have a new potential plan for the Northwest Triangle. Somebody has brought us some very, very promising designs. And so they are in the investigation phase right now. But I'm very excited to see what our friends at the Redevelopment Authority back in the back, troublemakers hiding in the back there. Frank and Mike will see what they bring us and what you bring to the mayor's office. Very excited about the Northwest Triangle. I do strongly believe that it is the best and possibly last big location for York City to move into the 21st century, honestly, technologically, and with bringing jobs to the city residents that will advance them where the money is being made in technology in the 21st century. Again, this is a matter of equity. You can't look at the tech industry and not recognize that it's the same old, the same people making the money. We need to work on fixing that, and we can do that from here in the city if we plan right and work together. So that's economic development. I think, oh, did I skip the wastewater treatment plant? How could I have done that? How could I have done that? I was supposed to lead with that. But just an update on the wastewater treatment plant. I already mentioned one of the, and I don't brag too often, but I already mentioned one of the best things I've ever done in my life, and that is hire Commissioner Muldrow. And maybe the second best thing, or at least the most necessary and one of the toughest decisions I've made, is to sell the assets of the York City wastewater collection system. And that has been going more smoothly than we could have hoped. And we're looking at a closing before the end of May. Knock on wood. Everything with the mayor is knock on wood. You never know what's going to happen when you think you got it all closed. But so with that, we're looking at approximately, you may have heard the value of 235 million thrown around. The city would be in bankruptcy if not, well, we can't go into bankruptcy, so we don't know what we would have done. We would have almost taxed every homeowner and business out of the city by now. Even in 2020, looking at 2020 and 2021, we were looking at a 48% tax increase and a 43% sewer rate increase just to cover those expenses. And as everybody knows, and now with inflation even getting worse, the prices of everything are going up. There's no stopping this. And the city, unlike a money-making business, we can't increase the price of our products or to really develop too many new products. We're trying to get some new things going on, but the value of the city has stayed pretty steady over the years at 1.6 billion, and 600 million of that being nonprofits that are not taxable. So we get about the same amount of taxes, and we have gotten the same amount of taxes for years and years, while all the costs continue to go up. And we are some of the highest taxed individuals and businesses in this Commonwealth. So we need to do what we can. And in this case, it was sell the family silver, sell one of the most valuable assets that the city had. But in so doing, we'll be able to pay off over $60 million in debts, pay off all of the city's debts. Also, hopefully, that leaves us about high 160 millions, or maybe 168 million. I'm hoping that most of that money can be invested in some kind of dividend-bearing investment, so that maybe we can peel about 8 million of that out per year, and then help offset the pension costs and things like that. We do have that will still give us a little bit of money to play with. And let me tell you, I'm always a person that's willing to learn and willing to change my mind. Some people may tell you otherwise, but it is true. With more information, I will reevaluate. I know that some people want some of this money for investment in economic development, but I also know that we have to have a plan going forward to pay off these consistent healthcare and pension debts that are no fault of the city, and in many ways, no fault of our workers either. Healthcare has gone up 1,100% in the last 20 years. So the line item that used to say 1 million on the city budget now says 12 million just to pay for healthcare. But these decisions are not my own completely. We have brought in the Pennsylvania Economy League. Better York has had some of their members volunteer and come on. Other individuals from around the community have come in, and we've been having sessions with Pennsylvania Economy League, and we will be making kind of some group decisions on how to invest that money. That said, the final thing I want to leave you with is that the state of the city's finances are decent for the first time in decades. However, the system that has caused us to go into that negative, exist constantly digging ourselves out of a hole every single year, That system has not changed. That is a system made by the state legislature back in the 60s, where when all of the highest valued properties were in the city of York, the manufacturers were in the city of York, the highest incomes were in the city of York, all the things that we taxed to support the city of York, we had the highest. And things like other townships, they were farmland and maybe some suburbs and things like that. So what has happened, the tax base has moved out into the townships and left the poorest people, some of the poorest people in the Commonwealth, to support the infrastructure, the nonprofits, the county government buildings, all of these things that help support all of the rest of the county and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So if you have any influence on your legislators, I would ask you to talk to them about when are you going to finally catch up to the 21st century and create a taxation system based on sales tax, based on income tax, but we can't continue to use property tax as a way to fund our city governments. It just can't happen. I hear that there is some new legislation out there, as long as it is equitable and sustainable, unlike the previous versions. Don't have time to get into all that, but this has to be equitable and has to last for a long time. We need to switch our property taxes over to sales tax and income taxes, or else we're just going to be back here again in 10, 15, 20 years. And I won't be here, but whoever is in my place won't have another wastewater treatment plant to sell. So that is my ask of this, is that people really understand the entire environment is different now than when they passed these algorithms or calculations of how to fund cities. It cannot and does not function. So any of you out there with any influence, please use that influence to at least shake it up a little bit. I'm happy to answer any questions about anything that you want to know. And sorry, I'm always so, I think there was some upbeat stuff in there somewhere, but everything is great, but it won't be for long. That's the theme here. Yes. That's a darn good question. And I have actually said that if people can, I'm not opposed to bringing back hens. Roosters cause obvious problems. Having setbacks, 25-foot setbacks, you know, the easy answer is that we have a whole bunch of people living in a closet. That's kind of how it is when you're in the city. You know, you've got people, and I love it. I love being around people, and I love hearing different music and different things going on, and noise doesn't bother me that much. But that's an urban environment. When you're in an urban environment, you're going to have a certain amount of chaos, which also breeds a lot of cool creativity, which is why I like it. But yeah, it was getting, I think back around 10, 15 years ago, it was getting a little bit out of control with the animals in the city. And so at that time, they put those restrictions on. I'd be happy to look at them again and bring something forward. And but you need to get some city council votes, because I don't have that power myself. Yes, Al. Okay, sure. Poorhouse Run has had an amazing, does anybody know I'm not the creek guy, or I used to be the creek guy? All right, so I'm the creek guy before I was mayor. So Poorhouse Run has had an amazing restoration. What has happened over the hundreds of years that we have been here is that we have just manipulated the land so much that the creeks have really started to gouge into the earth, and it creates all sorts of problems for their rivers in the Chesapeake Bay when all that mud comes in when it rains, blah, blah, blah. So we've reattached the original floodplains at Poorhouse Run, giving the water an ability to rise up without eroding and causing those creek banks to fall in, as well as adding recreation areas, new biking and walking paths. So that's what we've done at Poorhouse Run. And something similar is being planned right now for Willis Run, although I believe there will be a little bit more of a nature component there to add some buffers. And this is the creek that runs between, sorry, I live in Creek World, like I said, Willis Run is the creek that runs basically by the quarry on Roosevelt Avenue. It actually starts out in West Manchester Commons or at the BJ's or whatever is out there. We used to call it the West Manchester Mall, right? I don't know what it is now. But it starts down there and starts up Kenneth Road, and it all comes down and it converges right there at Roosevelt Avenue. And then it runs down. It's what feeds Kiwanis Lake. By the way, thank you all for Kiwanis Lake. It is looking amazing. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Al. Thank you, everybody, for your leadership there. But we just have recurring flooding and erosion, and it really causes a lot of problems. So they will be doing some restoration in that area too. I know I've tried to keep it short. Come on. Chickens and creeks. Come on. You got, somebody's got to have a hard one for it. These are like softballs. Oh, I got to go. Probably not. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
I know there are lots of questions, so I encourage you to stay, and the mayor can stay with us for a bit and answer those questions. Thank you all so much. Mayor, we really appreciate that comprehensive update on the city of York and offering some real solutions to some of the challenges. Thank you so much for your service and the work that you're doing there. In honor of your presentation today, Mayor Helfrich was kind enough to sign the book plate for the book Tides Travels All Aboard by Kelly Starling Lyons, which we will donate to Alexander Good Elementary School. Next week, York City Police Commissioner Michael Muldrow will present an overview of his plan for the newly approved Reprogram York Initiative, a therapeutic community engagement center for youth and families in the city of York. As a champion for youth, Commissioner Muldrow will share his vision for this program set to open this summer. The Youth Center will provide a safe environment for students to learn social, coping, and developmental skills to foster growth and assist in tutoring and academic progression. And as the mayor hinted, we have an exciting announcement to make next week that we'll share with you regarding the important New York City initiative that's going to take place as our club partners with Commissioner Muldrow to make a difference for inner city youth. And in closing today, our quote is by former Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So often in life, things that you regard as an impediment turn out to be great good fortune. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.